And we're live. Hi, this is Marco Williams from PlayFab, and I'm here with Zach Bragg.
Hello.
Seeing the stream.
You're not seeing it yet? Okay. You want to try to refresh that page?
Did you hit start broadcast on Google Hangout?
Yeah. We're live on the Hangout.
I mean, we're live there already.
Oh, there it is.
I'm good?
You're good.
We'll start over. Hi, this is Marco Williams from PlayFab, and I'm here with Zach Bragg.
Hello.
And we're going to talk a little bit about PlayFab and how to get started with our service. So first, we're just going to tell you what PlayFab is. PlayFab is a backend as a service. And let me go ahead and start my screen share here. Share screen 2. And let's bring up page to our Facebook. Nice. I should really make that our homepage. My homepage. So we're a backend as a service, and what we provide is game operations for game developers. So you can handle your player data, player accounts, virtual goods, data storage. We have multiplayer integration with Photon, handling all your social aspects of, tying into Facebook and promotions, analytics. Our big thing is we have everything. Everything you need is what we provide. So let's get started. So first thing you need to do is sign up for an account, and I'm already signed up, but it's pretty simple. You just put an email, username and password, and then I'm going to go ahead and log in. And when you first log in, we're not going to know anything about your studio. So you have an unnamed studio, unnamed title, and so what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn this over to Zach. He's going to give you a little bit of a tour of the game manager.
All right. And why
don't you come over here, and then because I'm already in here.
All right. Hello, everyone. I'm Zach, a member of the SDK team. You may have seen us in the forums and answering questions and whatnot. And today we will be going through, several major aspects of PlayFab, and also we'll have plenty of time for Q&A if you'd like to get into that. Feel free to put that in the chat box, and we'll be happy to respond back, answer your question live, pull you into the Hangout if you want to do some code reviews, or you want to share some code with us. We can take a look, talk about it live in front of everybody, and get solutions taken care of. But for now, we're here at the main dashboard of the PlayFab title screen, and this shows us just a heads-up display of the major key performance indicators for your title. These, for now, include revenue, daily active users, monthly active users, and then also how your title is performing in terms of how many daily active users have been in today, and then how many active API calls your title has made to the PlayFab service. In addition, we show a monthly history, or at least the last 30 days here, of daily active users as well as the revenue. Moving on to the settings side, these are the general high-level settings for your title. These are typically things that you would set once and provide access to either third-party APIs, providing workflow augmentations for your team, setting up user permissions. So I'm just going to walk through a couple of these tabs and show off the screens. And like I said, we have Marco in the chat box over there. Feel free to ask us any questions. We'll stop and take a deep dive into any one of these sections or subject matters. So in general, we have every title has a title ID, and this is the title. This title ID is a value that the client uses to tell our service which game they're connecting to, and that is represented here in the endpoint. So EE3D is the name of our title, and for our web endpoint, this is where our web requests go to. And from there, you access all of our API set. So we are a RESTful web HTTP service. So if your device and client can connect to the web and issue HTTPS calls, you can use and get the benefits of PlayFab service. Below is the secret key. This is the private key that you would use to authenticate your server calls. That has a lot of power associated with it. You do lots of things with the server that you wouldn't typically do on a client. So you can do things like manipulate virtual currency balances, change stats around for different players, and other things that you might want an authoritative source to make the switch. Moving on to the general tab, here we see a little bit of information such as the general game title, the logo that you can choose to represent your game within the game manager, and then any site that you would like to promote for customer service or the main homepage of your site. And then here on the right, we have enable and disable API features. And it's important to note this particular box because by default, we don't allow the client to do things like post player statistics, subtract virtual currency, or add virtual currency. And these are for preventative measures for preventing people from hacking your client. But we also allow you to turn these on and off if you want to do things for testing, or maybe you're not that worried about the economy and you would like to allow players to increase and decrease stats and currency. So we allow those options. Feel free to set those to accommodate your own title. And that brings us to the next tab, which is title data. Here we have a list of key value pairs. These are accessible from any client. Typically, you would have game settings in here that are pulled down as the client loads, and then those game settings are used to set up other areas of the game. This can be strings for text, and you can have all of your text in the server side. You can edit these on the fly. So game strings and text, and then other major variables that you would like to use basically across all of your titles. One of the games that we're working on internally, Unicorn Battle, uses the title data to host the enemies that you fight in there, the levels and the data, all of the parameters that are used to generate the level and quests. All of that data is located right here in title data. So my game is running, through Google Play or on the Apple Store on these various devices. That's a submission process. You go through the submission process, your game gets live, and then to make changes to those clients, you have to go through that submission process again, and it's very cumbersome and error-prone and very slow. PlayFab gives you the access to put that data right here in the server side with a web tool that you can edit pretty much many aspects of your game, and that is applied instantaneously. So the next client that connects, the next time they refresh and get the new title data, they will have access to all the new data that you entered, the updates, and really the sky's the limit. We offer the ability to have JSON style strings in here, so you could have basically a key value pair of some object, and then the stringified version of that object here. That object is requested through the client and then deserialized into custom objects on the client side to perform any data that you'd like to save. Moving on to secret keys, under the secret keys tab, this is where we have all of our third-party integration. So many of the third parties give you secret keys and other app IDs and signatures that PlayFab needs access to do round-trip validation sometimes with servers, or integrate for purchasing pathways, Facebook login, these types of things. Basically, all the keys are located on this one page. Moving into the, we're going to skip analytics for now. User permissions. This is a fairly straightforward system where you've got a listing of all the users that have access to this title, and then you can set permissions basically for any screen that they would be able to see or edit. So we can really lock things down at a per screen level, and that's kind of an overview of the permission system. We won't spend too much time on that, but if anyone has questions, be happy to go into it in depth. And then for all changes that are made throughout the title, we have an audit log, audit history. So anything that changes, any actions that are taken by users in the game manager will show up here. We'll come back to that and see some actions after we've taken them. Moving into the players tab, for PlayFab, players is really a central concept. So everything revolves around your players playing your game and the data that they're creating, and all of that is basically centered around each individual player. So each player can have linked accounts. They can log in multiple ways. They can you get history to their multiplayer games, their purchase history, all their login history, what items they have in their inventory, what their virtual currency balances are, player data. This can come in many forms, which we can go into in depth, and then statistics that you track for that player session through the life of their account. In addition, we also offer things like banning, so you can ban players as needed. You know, not everyone plays nice sometimes. It gets a little rowdy. You can shut it down. Going back here to the main overview, you can see some information like the username, their email, and display name. These are, you know, very standard properties that you see across many games online systems, and we offer compatible you know, fields and capabilities to just about anything else that's out there, if not, you know, leading edge and very creative uses and quick ways. Quick ways to kind of get to the data that you expect to see on your players. Sorry. So that's kind of an overview for players. We have all kinds of things all situated around each player. You can pull those up from the client independently, save all of this data independently, and all of this is managed by us. So one of the really cool benefits here is if you get a swell of players coming on, you don't have to worry about tracking players that are active. All of this is kind of done for you. Like, players sign on, they make new accounts, and we manage the accounts. We handle the, you know, the really big players that get tremendous amounts of data, and the really small players that may only play one time and then never touch it again. Like, you don't have to worry about pruning that list. You don't have to worry about keeping those things up. We manage all of that on our back end, and you own the data. We just manage it for you. Moving on to the promotions section, and we'll take a deep dive into economy maybe in a future session.
Let's skip from promotion. Just skip everything else
Okay.
that's here. Did you already cover the statistics in the player?
Briefly, yeah. Yeah. So
because that's where we're gonna go with the example. So
cool.
It'd be really cool to give a little more in depth on the statistics.
Great. So I will queue up the statistics here and then hand it back over to Marco. So as I was mentioning, the player record is really central to each individual player experience. And one of the really easy to use features that we have that gives you almost immediate benefit is using the player statistics API. And this would create a statistic, which is a key value pair of a string, a key. So here we have a key of bosses killed, and then we can set this value initially to 0, and then as the client progresses, this value can increment to reflect how many bosses they've killed. And this is really the bare, simplest explanation of this, but you can have as many statistics as you need. They all have integer values, and they can be tracked for as long as you need. They can go up and down. And with that, we'll show you, jump into the code and show how you can put this together. All right, back to you, Marco.
Awesome, thanks, Zach. So now you guys are pretty familiar with you know, what the game manager is and, you know, some of its functionality. There's a lot of other functionality that we're not going to cover today, but let's dive into some code examples. We're going to use Unity today for setting up our project. So let me load my Unity up. Where is my Unity? It's hiding. Here we go. So I have just a basic getting started project. It is empty. Right now I have some stuff in there, but I'm just going to delete it out and we're going to start from scratch. So you can pretty much do this just from a blank project. And I'm going to go ahead and kill out the SDK and the plugins. I'm going to show you where to grab that as well. Okay, so I use Visual Studio, so I'm going to go ahead and import in the Visual Studio tools for Unity. And then let's go ahead and grab the SDK, PlayFab SDK. So if I go to playfab.com, to the doc site, and actually you can actually just get to that from our link on the homepage as well. And then under SDKs, you'll see the first one here is Unity. And you can download the latest from the repository, like so. But I like to use the Unity asset package, and we keep this current. So you can actually click on the download Unity asset package, and it'll download something you can import. So I'm going to go ahead and open that up. I'm going to select everything and go ahead and import. All right, that was fast. So that little screen that popped up is because I'm on the latest 5.2.1, and our SDK is backwards compatible, and it was built, or plug-in and everything was built in a previous version to maintain backwards compatibility. But it is safe to just say, you know, I made a backup and go ahead and accept that and continue. So I'm going to go ahead and just create a blank game object in the scene. And I'm not going to call it PlayFab Manager anymore because that causes some problems. And I'll show you why. But for right now, I'm going to call this PlayFab Example. I'm going to create a C# script. I'm going to call that PlayFab Example too. And I'm going to drag that right onto, I got to wait till Unity compiles. So drag that right onto my game object. And now I have my script here. And why does Visual Studio hate me so much? Why isn't it opening my project? Oh, because 5.2 has it all built in now. That's right, I forgot. That's very cool. So I actually don't even need this VS plugin anymore. Delete that out of there. Okay, cool. So should have opened my Visual Studio. Gotcha. It did not come on Unity. Let's try that again. So open C# project. There it is. Oh, and it even takes you to Unity documentation. That's neat. All right. So I'm going to close that out. Let's go ahead and open up our PlayFab examples file. So the first thing we need to do is set up our title, right? So to do that, we want to go using PlayFab, and that allows us to use our SDK. And so we want to set up our title and set our title ID. So where do we get that? So if I go into our game manager and I go over to the settings tab, and right here we have a game title ID. Now this is required for PlayFab calls, so I'm going to copy that. And we're going to set that right on the PlayFab settings title ID. I'm just going to go ahead and hard code that puppy right in there. Now, one nice thing that I like to do is I like to make this a variable. So I can go public, it's just a string. And I'm going to call this title ID. By doing that, instead of hard coding it, actually what we can do is just put title ID here. And then we can go flip back into Unity. And we can go ahead and just add it right here instead. So that's a nice dynamic way. So if you have a test title and then or a beta version, and then you have a live. So this will allow you to switch back and forth between different titles. So that's kind of a neat thing to do. So flipping back, so now you can't really make any other PlayFab calls. So one thing that we're going to want to do is we're going to, play around with statistics and maybe form a leaderboard of some sort in this example. And in order to do that, you can't do any of that stuff until you've logged in. So let's go ahead and log in and register our player. Now I'm just going to do it a real down and dirty, simple login anonymously into the system. And we can do that with login with a custom ID. And I'm going to go ahead and pop up this API here. So playfab.com docs. And we're going to come over to our APIs. And under authentication, we have login with custom ID. And this has a really neat create account. So if there's not an account that is existing for this particular computer, then it's going to create one for you. So we're going to set this Boolean flag to true. We're going to pass in the title ID, and then we're going to pass in a custom ID that identifies this computer or this user, right? So let's not going to do that in the update, but we will do that in, let's make a custom function for that. So public login, public void login, and we're going to say PlayFab client API, and we're going to say I forgot the name. It starts with login with custom ID. There it is. So I'm just going to copy that. Login with custom ID. Now this takes a new custom ID request, and there's a couple ways you can do this. So the first way is, make a variable request equals new custom login with where is it? There it is. So login with custom ID request, we can do it this way, and then we can set our title ID equals to our title ID. And we could either do it directly to our variable, but we could also use PlayFab settings title ID here as well, because we've already set that when it started. As well, we're going to set a custom ID. We don't have that yet, so I'm just going to make that empty, and we're going to say create account equals true. So let's go ahead and do that. Now let's get our custom ID. So Unity provides some system info, so we're going to make use of that. So var unique ID equals system info dot device unique identifier. And so this actually takes a combination of like your MAC address, and Unity gathers other information about your system, and it actually creates a unique hash identifier. We don't recommend using this for things like, your device ID if you're on an Android or iOS. But for, PC, Mac, Linux, this is a great way to identify your device. And we're going to go ahead and put this right in here, unique ID. Any questions yet? No. And then we can put in the request object right here. So this is going to return a result. And then I'm going to just do this in a lambda fashion. So, and it's also going to return an error, possibly an error callback. I'm going to go over those real quick. And I misspelled request, didn't I? There we go. Fix that one. So the result is going to return back, and we can see what it's returning here. If I actually go to the definition, go to definition. And then let's drill down again. So this is going to return a login with custom ID callback. And that's going to have a few parameters. So you can actually drill down even further into that. You can see it's going to return you a login result. And if we drill down even further, we can get what exactly is coming back in that login result. So we have a session ticket, and that session ticket is going to be good for like 24 hours. We also have the PlayFab ID. So this is a unique identifier to identify your player. We're going to return back to you whether this user was newly created just now, or if he had already been created. If he's already been created, this is going to return false. And then these are some additional things. So you can send along with the request some custom data, which in this particular call, we're set up for, but we're not supporting it yet. But that's I think that's planned on the future roadmap. I'm not sure. Let me actually double check that. Let's go into our client. Yeah, it's not in here right now, but so
Roadmap.
Huh?
What's the item you're checking? Sorry, I was answering.
Yeah. So are we going to support custom data, passing it into the login object as well? Because it's already in there inside of, so like right here.
Mm-hmm.
If I was just there, hold on. If I look at the login result,
mm-hmm.
I go to definition. Here we have a custom data object in the login result. But I know that doesn't pass back from the server because we haven't passed any custom data into the login call.
It's not in the plan right now, but
not?
if there are scenarios people need it for, they should
Okay.
let us know. Yeah.
Okay. So we may take that out then out of the SDK.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So we're just going to move on past that, and so basically we're getting a result back. And that's going to have our session ticket, and that's really the important things. We're going to get a session ticket, and we're going to get our PlayFab ID. So let's go ahead and store those real quick. So, actually, I'm going to put this in a variable up here. So public and we're going to call this one session ticket. And public string PlayFab ID.
Increase the font size.
Oh, sure. Is that better? Is that too big?
A little bit bigger.
A little bit bigger? Okay.
That's perfect.
Yeah.
I think.
There we go. Okay, so we're going to. So we just created these variables for session ticket and PlayFab ID. So we're going to go ahead and set that. So session ticket equals result dot session ticket and PlayFab ID. Can't type. And result dot PlayFab ID. Now, if we get an error, we're just going to debug that to the console. So error message should be fine, and this will tell us pretty much what went wrong. So now we need to call this login function, and we're going to just do that right when the game starts. Now, we should probably do some debugging here as well. So why don't we just go ahead and output, because right now we don't have any UI, we don't have anything inside of our game. So we're going to just output that we've logged in successfully and that we got our session ticket. So string.format, login successful, And let's go ahead and pass in our PlayFab ID. So now we know that we got our PlayFab ID. Try that. I'm excited. So I'm going to go ahead and push play, and if all goes well, we'll get some debug logging. All right, so our login was successful, and what it returned was our PlayFab ID, which is what it output here. Oh yeah. So inside of our game manager, under players, this isn't going to show up for, is it 15 minutes or is it pretty quick?
It can take up to 15 minutes. The data shown here is being pulled from Redshift. So it can take up to 15 minutes to display, but it might not take that
You
long.
can search on the ID that you get though.
Yeah,
Oh,
as
that's
soon
right.
as anything's entered, though, it is searchable. Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's right. I forgot about that. Okay, so we have the ID here. And I'm going to go ahead and grab this, copy, and going to go over to Game Manager, and we're going to search for our player. And here is our player right here. And right now we don't have any statistics on our player. So what I did here is I clicked over on the player stat for our players, and we don't have any log statistics. So let's just do how many times did you log in for it now. So let's say we just wanted to track that arbitrarily. And we're going to open up our code. So big. Okay. So on our example object, let's make another function, and this is going to be responsible for logging our player statistic. So if I go public, void log player statistic, and I'm going to pass this a string for the key, and I'm going to pass it a value as well. So it's an int, right? Value. Yeah. So let's see here. So we need a new request object for this. So we're going to say new request equals new, and why don't we take a look at the API real quick. So I'm going to hop on over to our API docs. Let's go to our client. Oh yeah. I don't like it. And what I'm looking for here. Which API call am I looking for? Is
Are you
Get
looking-
player statistics or get combined info.
Yeah, but you said get before set, and why did you say
Get
that?
user statistics.
Get users. Oh, right. Get users. There it is. So this is what I was thinking. I'm gonna save this for later, which is the get leaderboard. Okay, so get user statistics is right here. Can everybody see this? Is this too small?
You might want to up it a little bit.
Maybe even.
Yeah.
So, what the SDK automatically passes your user session ticket in the background, and so we handle all of that part for you. And what we're going to do is we're going to get the user statistic first.
What's your title ID?
My title ID is. Did I have that in the front window?
Are you using Unicorn Bottom?
No, this is just a generic title ID. So it's EE3D.
E3D, thank you.
I'm on the wrong page. Okay. So I'm a little confused why you had me look at get user.
Because you're asking about get user statistics.
Why am I
update
getting
user
it before?
statistics.
Why am I trying to get it before I've set it?
So you
have it,
increment.
but it doesn't exist yet.
Right.
So
the
I wanted
stat
to
doesn't
set it
exist
first.
You should do the update first and then the get. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Update user statistics, get user statistics. Hey, I heard a question about get. I answered the question.
Yeah.
You should also
Turn off your display.
show them this and set the appropriate property.
Oh yeah, allow
Yeah,
client
yeah.
to post.
Yeah.
I think Zach covered that already. And did
But
you
it's
already
not
set
set.
it,
I
or
didn't
did you
set it.
uncheck it?
I unchecked
Oh,
it.
he unchecked
Yeah.
it. Okay. Yeah. So
Oh, do you want me to turn it back on?
Huh?
Do you want me to turn it back on?
I can
Okay.
do it right here. So in order for us to post from the client, so we have to go into it was settings,
Yeah, it's settings and then below that, general.
general. There it is.
Left.
So that's right here?
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's the allow client to post player statistics. So I can't post my player statistic unless I have that checked. So I'm going to go ahead and submit that. And that is all done.
Yeah, I think you mentioned the cheating aspect, right, Zach? Yeah. Because that's the problem. As Zach was saying earlier, it's just people will cheat if you give the client authority. So that's why
Oh,
it's
right,
off by
right, yeah.
default. Yeah.
Yeah. But we're not going to be covering cloud script in this
Sure,
session.
yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so this is just a quick how to use it from
Yeah.
the client's perspective. So what was it doing? Okay, so log player statistic. To Zach's point, we do need to also get the player statistic. So I'm going to go ahead and create a method stuff for that as well. So get player statistic, and we're going to get it by the key. So so the reason we went to the API was to get our two methods that we're going to be using. So we're going to be using get user statistic. That's going to be what we want to use to retrieve the statistic. So I'm going to paste that there for later. And then we also want to go back to client and set user, it's update users. Okay?
Update user
statistics. There it is.
Yes.
So update works in two different ways. One is if the key doesn't exist and you post an update to it, it's going to create that key and go ahead and set that statistic by default. So and if it already exists, then it's just going to do an update. And now I get why Zach said to check to see if it exists, because if it doesn't exist, we don't know if ahead of time if we're going to update it or if we're going to be creating a new one. So so that's why Zach had brought that to my attention, so that we first want to do a get, see if the key is there, and if it's not there, then we want to set it for the first time.
Thanks.
I'm hearing myself.
Not anymore.
All right. So let's go ahead and do that. So the first thing here is we want to make a new request object equals new get clear. Sorry. Oops. get user statistics request, and we want to check and see if a specific key is in here, right? So does this just get all of them? I thought that had a.
Sorry, is the question, does get user statistics get all of them?
Yeah. I thought I could request just the specific statistic. That's not there. Come on. Let's go into that real quick. To the definition.
I believe we used to have a specifier in there for getting a single player statistic, but
We don't.
it's not in the current calls. So
Huh.
If that's something that people want, they should let us know.
Yeah. No, I thought that's how it worked before.
Yeah, I think you're right.
It's okay. This means that it's going to return all the statistics that are available. So let's go ahead and just grab all of those. So PlayFab client API dot user statistic, and we're going to pass in a request. Now, all of our API calls work exactly the same way. So you have a request object, and most request objects have some sort of parameters that you want to assign in that request, and then you have a result and an error. So that's what we're doing here, and we're just following the same exact pattern every time. So we're going to get our result, results, and I'm going to do this in a Lambda still. Note you don't have to do these in Lambdas. You can pull these out into their own methods. So since we're going to be doing this over and over, I'm actually going to do that right now with an error. So I'm just going to say play error. Handle play error. And then I'm going to right click on this and create it. And quickly generate it all the way up there. Okay. Visual Studio did that in a very messy way. I don't know why. No, maybe because I had an error right here. Hey, bonkers on me. That doesn't belong there. There we go. Now I could use this in several different calls, and that's the purpose for me pulling that out. And we will use that multiple times. So instead of throwing a not implemented, I'm just going to debug the error, debug log the error, debug.log, and it's error message. And this is running a little bit longer than I thought, so we may not have time to cover the whole entire, doing a whole leaderboard and stuff, because we're already at almost an hour. So I'm going to try to speed this up a little bit. And
I'll throw in one quick clarification. Should I just take the time to double check? Statistics, the get call, there was never a specifier. It always returned all the stats because the stats are very, very small. I mean, it's just a numeric value, so it's easy to return all of them. Just one of the reasons I wanted to call that out is one of the points we should reiterate is we're very committed to no breaking changes.
Exactly.
There will not be a change to our service unless something happens, which is a security issue. We're not going to do anything which would cause an existing title to break.
Yeah. That's a great point. So result dot, what was it doing here? Okay, so now we've got the result back, and we want to check the result and see if the key is in there. So let's see what type of info we have off the result. So we have a custom data, and that custom data in there it is, user statistics. So this should be a set of key value pairs, and we should be able to check to see if that key exists in here. Contains key, and we're going to say contains key. What do I want to do with this first, actually? Trying to think through my logic here. So we're getting our player statistic. It contains the key. We want to return the key. So why don't we just put a nice little action callback here? Action.
System dot.
Yeah.
That's the best one.
Mhm.
Short. And actually we want to pass back. I don't know what we want to pass back yet. So let's just do if is key. Why is that not working? Because I spelled it wrong. So if it contains the key, we want to pass that back to the callback, right? So we'll return let's return a dictionary, actually. I don't have generics imported, do I? Using system collection generic. And so have we had any questions? I mean,
I'm answering a lot of them in the chat box.
oh, you are?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, cool.
I'm posting the linking API docs.
Okay.
And just to reiterate, feel free to put any questions you have. We'll address those here and get an answer for you.
Okay, so CD. What I'm gonna do, I'm just gonna do string and string and a int. So if the key exists, I'm gonna return var equals result dot user statistics dot would be not right. Not right. Dictionary should be right. There we go. Okay, so now we're gonna make a call to our callback. And we're going to pass it our key, and we're also going to pass it our value. So and what else are we doing here? And so now we want to make, let's make a little button, and we'll just be able to click that and be able to set this into motion. So I'm just going to make a quick canvas item here, UI canvas, and inside my canvas, I'm going to make a little button, and we'll focus on that. Get make that a little bigger. That's fine. Clicking on the wrong things. Why is it? There. And so we want to call this get player stats when that button is pressed. So we're just going to add a click handler here. We're going to drag our script onto it. Then we're going to select our PlayFab example. And we have a, why is it showing right there?
It's not public.
Did I not make it public? I thought I made it public. Oh, what?
Oh, but
It's okay.
you're going to want to have a different signature because it can only take print value types.
The string. Good point. Good point. So we can actually create a new one. So public void get player statistic hats, and then we'll make another call to this one. Kind of a roundabout, unintended way of doing this, but what key did we want to check for? Again, attempts. We'll call that. And when this triggers, we'll just say key. And debug.log. Our key was there or not. And I haven't really coded for the failure in case it didn't come through yet, so I'll have to do that in a second. Debug.log. Key. Now we can hook that up. After it compiles. There we go. So since our key doesn't exist, we need to code for that condition. So let's go ahead and put in some code for if the key doesn't exist. So that was if the key did exist, but if the key does not exist, then let's just return back some null values in here. So we oh, you can't do a null zero. And what we'll do here is so what we'll do is we'll say if key key equal to null. We'll go ahead and display this. Else, now we want to log our statistic. So we're getting there. So let's log our statistic. And so since if it does return something, let's actually store that information, right? So we can go public int login attempts. We'll set that to 0. And here we'll just do login attempts +1. And then here we'll take the value and we'll store it in login attempts. So if it already exists, killers. And I think that should work. So now we need to log the statistics. So as with everything, all our requests are handled the same way. We're going to make a request. Then there. Update, thank you. Player, update user statistic request. Statistics, and now this takes a dictionary KDP, so let's make that first. So new our new and we're going to say user stat add set that to login attempts. And we're going to pass this user stats object. And now we're going to actually make our requests. So PlayFab client API dot update user statistics. And we're going to pass it our request. Stop it. We still get back a result. Oh, I thought you were drawing something. And an error, but we already have our error object, so I'm going to grab that method from down here, handle PlayFab error, and reuse that in case there's an issue. And what happened to it? There it is. Lost my place. Sorry about that. So result dot October 14th. Okay, so we don't actually need to do anything. We can just say, hey, that we can just debug log that the result was submitted.
Oh, I think I just kicked our cable.
Are you okay?
Yeah.
Okay.